Hello, my name is Deanna, and today I'm reviewing the Humi Gouache paint set. I am excited to show you guys about the packaging and everything, but as soon as I took it out of my Amazon package, I dropped it. So yeah, that's first impressions. I'm gonna pick that up really quick. And let me just say, there's no better way to start a paint review than dropping your product all over the ground. Literally 10 out of 10 professional right here.
The Maya Humi Gouache kit comes with 24 cups of 30 milliliters of paint. It also comes with this carrying case that holds inside the paint, and it also comes with 3 brushes and a paint palette used for mixing. The brushes included in this paint kit include a rectangular brush, an oval paddle brush, and also a thinner cone-shaped brush. Throughout the process of this painting I'm about to show you, I discovered each brush is used for different techniques and can create different dimensions with your brush stroke. Throughout practicing watercolor and gouache, I tend to use a cone-shaped brush, but while using these jelly cups, I've discovered to get a more tufted and brushed out look in your paint, using the other 2 square and rounded brush can get you a look that adds a little bit more body and dimension to your composition. When I tell people that my favorite medium to use is gouache, I feel like people look at me funny, but the way I best describe it is it's a water-based medium and is basically an in-between of watercolor, but also can have the thickness and opacity of acrylic paint.
I don't know why, but these last 2 ones don't want to open, and there's still 2 more. It's the brown one that actually looks like chocolate pudding, like will not open, so might have to puncture it. I don't know. I just delidded, or like took all the plastic stuff off the top of the jelly gouache cups, and it was kind of hard. I had read some reviews being like it was hard or it was difficult, and the last 3, one took me like 10 to 15 minutes to open, but other than that it was really easy. It's really cool seeing them all next to each other, and I love my yellow container. The carrying case, or like the cup case that comes with the brush set and the palette, has a color option, so I chose like a yellowy orange, and I love it. It's super fluorescent, and I love orange and yellow. Last night I did a pre-sketch because I knew I was gonna film this video, and I sketched some kind of botanical things and flowers and some mushroom people, friends, animals. I'm gonna swatch out these colors first to show you guys what they look like outside. When applying gouache to paper, usually when you start painting, because the layer is wet, it looks darker than what it's gonna look like when it's dry. So I just want to bring all these out on paper and see what they look like, because swatching is so much fun. If you never know what to paint, just swatch some colors, mix some paint, and keep doing it. I do it all the time when I don't know what to do. I haven't done it in a while, and I'm really excited to do it with my new paint set because it's been a while since I've bought new paint. But yeah, time to swatch.
Before attempting to use these jelly gouache cups, the only previous gouache I had tried before was Reeves, which is gouache that comes in a tube form, and also Artesa's brand of gouache, which also comes in a tube. I was interested to see if the consistency of this paint would last even overnight, because the paint I'm used to is kept in a tube and doesn't hit air as much as these paints. If you are interested in purchasing this set or just jelly gouache in general though, I do recommend spraying your paints. I basically just use an old makeup spray bottle thing and filled it with water and sprayed them before I even attempted to use them. Like I said, gouache has the same consistency sometimes as watercolor. The more water you apply to this medium, the more watercolory it gets, and if you don't use any at all, it can't have the thickness as acrylic like I mentioned before. I wouldn't call myself an expert on this medium whatsoever because I like to find the medium of watery and thickness in this paint, which can sometimes lead to splotchiness and just not smooth texture. A tip I've read to prevent this is back painting, which I do a little bit in the beginning. And basically it's when you paint down a first coat of something that you kind of want the undertone to be. The reason I back paint is so my colors will match up, due to I know I'm going to be mixing paint throughout my painting. And at the end of this composition, I would like to see an overall cohesiveness to the colors. As soon as I started mixing colors, I realized using a palette knife was going to be the easier route to use when creating with the jelly gouache cups. Like I've mentioned, I'm used to squeezing paint from the tube and putting it down. But mixing paint like this with a paintbrush is a little bit more difficult when dipping back into a jelly cup because you're contaminating that cup with the color that's already on your brush. This is where I start my first layer of the painting. Like I mentioned, back painting can create a cohesive look to your color palette throughout the composition. So I just wanted to get my botanicals down with some green, and you'll see what I do with the rest. One thing I really did like about this Hime gouache set is how vibrant the colors are. I'm a big saturation queen and love bright colors. It is fun to work with muted palettes sometimes, and I'd like to explore this further with this paint palette. If you are looking to pick up a new medium, I would definitely suggest using this palette, or maybe the one I tried when I first started playing with gouache, which is the Reeves palette, and pretty affordable. I would say jelly gouache is great for beginning painters because it teaches you how to blend colors without getting them too muddy like oils and sometimes watercolor and acrylic. I'm excited to further my studies in this paint and am interested to see how I can master color, shading, and technique overall with gouache. Overall, I would not say the Hime gouache paint set is a trend or fad in the art community. I think this palette truly is something that can create beautiful compositions and has a beautiful hue of colors. I wouldn't call the paints cheap, and I think they honestly have good quality over quantity, even though I think the quantity in this paint set is actually a pretty good bang for your buck. Because I knew I wanted the cat to have a more fluffy and tufted look to actually look like fur, I kind of layered my first layer of paint onto this splotchy just to create dimension. When starting to add my fur to the cat, I didn't exactly know what I was doing, but I found that putting on layers of different divisions of gray, black, and white onto this with the cone shape and then patting it out with the paddle brush really created that look that I was going for. I'm still learning this technique and how to blend paint in general, but overall I think it is a little difficult with the jelly gouache to get a consistent look unless you are literally putting paint from the cup onto the painting. But as you know, I like to mix my paints, so to mix it I always add a little bit of water just to get the colors blending. Another tip when using gouache is once you start applying your second layers to your paintings, It's good to let the first layer dry. If you don't, it can create some spotting and bleeding effects, and when you apply water to this, or a watery second layer, it can kind of meld through to the first layer to get not an equal looking finish. I overall enjoy how this spread turned out and think it was fun to play around with this medium. Although I'm not professional with my color, I think back painting, like I talked about, added a cohesiveness to the color palette of this composition and also kind of linked all the different components equally with the same color value. Thank you for watching this paint review, and I hope you learned something fun and creative today. I plan on making this composition into sticker sheets and will sell on my website.